With regards to your question with regards to visas from various countries, in this case you're talking about an Indian citizen, and he is saying that he feels that why other Commonwealth countries don't need visas and they don't. What I can say there is that there's quite a few Commonwealth countries that require visa into Botswana. It's not only Indians, but given the visa requirements and the rules and the regulations, we are able to issue a multiple entry visa. Obviously people travel and would go out of Botswana and wish to come back. When we issue such multiple entry visas, we would have to ensure that they meet all the necessary documentation and ensure that at the time that indeed that is the reason why we're issuing that multiple entry visa. One of our problems, like all countries, particularly in the EU, is a lot of people want to work in Botswana, and when we issue long-term visas, they then abuse those visas and start working. So really, it's a belt and braces process, and we would like to ensure that tourists who come should not be interfered with in any way. But we would also like to ensure that those people who come and then start working in the area do follow due process. So as an embassy based in London, we do issue multiple entry visas, but as I say, one would have to explain why they would wish a multiple entry. We can issue it up to a year even for a multiple entry. What business opportunities in Botswana outside the big three, and you mentioned here diamond, beef and tourism? Well, let me first say that diamond is not only diamonds that are the minerals in Botswana. There are other minerals. A mineral that a lot of people don't know is soda ash. We have huge quantities of soda ash which we export. But one industry, just for example, can be the glass industry. We have the silica, we have the soda ash, and possibly we'll have the gas. But there are other areas apart from the diamond industry in terms of minerals where there's mining. There's huge amounts of coal. We have one of the biggest coal deposits now. Of course, the issue with coal is the climate change and the effect that burning coal can have on the environment. But as new technology comes into place, there certainly would be areas of power generation or utilization of coal products. Not only that, there are other manufacturing opportunities from byproducts of areas like soda ash. Fertilizers is another. It's a byproduct. It's an area where people can be looking at. But moving away from, let me say, the three main issues that you put down, I should just mention very quickly with regards to beef. If you want to talk about agriculture, there's a huge potential that is being, let me say, being looked at by the Israelis and various other companies in arable agriculture. So there is potential in that regard. But there's also the financial sector. One should understand, and I think a lot of people don't know, that Gaborone, the capital of Botswana, is the headquarters of the SADC region. Now when you look at Botswana, with a population of 1.8 million, and a country the size of France or Texas, people who would want to get involved in manufacturing who would want to get involved in the financial sector forget that being the hub, and I take Botswana is the hub, it's in the middle of all the SADC countries, and with the SADC protocols being put in place, it's like the Brussels of the EU. So if you're looking at a market, you're looking at a market of more than 200 million people, which will be tax-free, duty-free. And you're looking at an environment that has a stable economy, has had a stable democracy, has very favorable regulations, be they financial or tax. There is a huge potential for other areas of investment. And as I say, the IT world, there's an innovation hub that is being established, it has been established, and certainly in those areas we as an embassy are there to give any information to any people who would wish to find out more about that. Could a mortgage be raised in Botswana? Obviously, a mortgage, I think what we have to understand is that the financial sector or the banking industry in Botswana is private. It's privately owned. Secondly, there are no rules or regulations on foreign exchange conversions. You can take out as much foreign exchange and you can bring in as much foreign exchange as long as it's legally, legitimately, and it's not laundered money. It is exactly the same, or the conditions are exactly the same as you would find in most EU countries. So whether it's easy or difficult to raise a mortgage would be entirely dependent on the individual and what securities they are able to provide to that private institution. And when I say private institution, I mean all the banks, that most of the major banks that are found throughout the world are represented in one way or another in Botswana. So it would be entirely dependent between the individual. And yes, ground can be owned by non-citizens, and they can raise loans on that ground.